I came home early that morning, tie-loose brain buzzing with numbers, and there on my front steps, a little girl slept with two newborns tucked into her arms, like fragile birds, rain still clinging to her hair, lips cracked, breath shallow. And I swear time just thinned out around us the way it does when life grabs you by the collar and says, "Pay attention. My name is Christopher Montgomery." And before that day, people knew me for markets and sharp suits, not for soft things like lullabies or tiny socks. I thought my heart was a locked vault. Turns out it was just waiting for someone small to knock. I knelt, palms open. Easy does it. And the girl, startled, tightened her hold, whispering, "Please don't take us away again." And I heard something in my chest tear in a way that had nothing to do with money. We got them inside me, and Martha, my housekeeper, who has more command in her eyebrows than most judges have in a gavel. And I tried to feed one of the babies, Mia or Clara, my hands stiff like I'd forgotten where a baby's neck goes, spilled. Half the bottle muttered, "Sorry, buddy," like she was a stock ticker that needed reassurance. And the 7-year-old, her name was Amy, put her small hand over mine and showed me the angle. "Hush, now I've got you," she said, and did it like a kid who has done it 1,000 times. That sentence, "I've got you," hit the sore spot. I never talk about the day my wife and our son went to the lake without me. Because I was chasing a deal, storm came fast. I came home to silence and forms to sign. And if you've ever carried a mistake so heavy, it changes how you stand. You know what I carried into that living room. You know what it did to me hearing a child take responsibility for a world that should be holding her up. I asked where her mom was. "Gone," she said, "childbirth." And she spoke as if the word had been folded and unfolded so many times it stopped cutting. She told me about a stepmother named Sarah, who said they had to disappear, and a father, Billy, who looked away even when he looked right at her. And I felt my jaw set the way it does when something in you decides quietly, "Okay. If no one else is going to be the adult in the room, then I guess it's me." Sunrise, a luxury car at my gate. A man in a gray suit with eyes that studied the floor like it held the answers, a woman with perfect hair and a sweeter-than-tea smile. "I'm Billy," he said. "This is my wife, Sarah. We're here for our children," and the word children sounded like a word he'd borrowed for the occasion. We stepped into the living room, Amy on the edge of the sofa, holding her sisters like glass, and Sarah chirped, "What a silly adventure she must have wandered out. Thank you for troubling yourself, Mr. Montgomery." And I said, "Went out to play, in a storm, with two newborns, that your story and her smile clicked off and on like a light with a bad switch, while Billy kept studying that fascinating piece of tile." And then, barely above air, Amy said, "I don't want to go back." And you could feel the house listen. That should have been the end, you know. Hand over handshake, lawyer letter next week. But life had already chosen another line. Father Gabriel from the parish came by with a notebook, dates and times of Amy outside the church. Twins in her arms, and Billy across the street, pretending the sidewalk crack was a miracle. "I am not here to judge," the priest said. "I am here to tell you what I saw, and sometimes that's louder than judgment." I called David Collins, my lawyer, who has the tactical brain of a chess computer and the human heart of a decent dad, and he said, "If you mean it, we go through the front door. Court evidence, protective order. And by the way, there's a snake named Gordon, spreading rumors that you did this as a PR stunt to calm investors. He hates you enough to lose money doing it. Let him talk, we'll bring facts." The first hearing looked like a photo op and smelled like hairspray. Sarah cried with precision. "Amy, like my own, she lies. Sometimes it breaks my heart. You'd be amazed how many people nod when a pretty lie offers to do the work of thinking for them." Then Amy took the stand, feet dangling, and said, "She told me I'm bad luck. She told me to die and the whole room forgot how to swallow. The judge called a recess to let the walls breathe. And Billy, God help me, stood and walked to his own child and slapped her. The sound cracked, the oxygen cameras flashed. I moved on. Instinct put myself between a man and the person he was supposed to protect. And that moment flipped the city's light switch. Outrage, confusion, a chorus of opinions from screens that never came to hold a baby at 3 a.m. That night, Gordon's smear machine revved up headlines about a millionaire polishing his image with orphans podcasts, saying my name like a diagnosis. Martha muted the TV and said they'll eat you alive and call it news. David didn't grandstand. He slid a plan across my desk and said, "We don't argue with fog, we turn on the lights." He'd already sent an undercover officer into a bar where Sarah's fixer, Hector Morales, bragged on cheap whiskey about getting Billy to sign a guardianship transfer while drunk, so Sarah controlled the money. And the kids, he laughed about the lines she fed him. "Trust me, baby, I'm family." And the tape laughed back in court, clean, sharp, ugly. Before the final hearing, Father Gabriel found something we didn't know existed. A voice memo on an old phone, Amy's mother Elena talking to the future right before labor. "If anything happens to me, please love our girl. Please don't make her carry what isn't hers. Please don't let anyone call her bad luck." We played it. The room changed temperature, and Sarah's mask slipped enough with the saint act she snapped at Billy. "Your dead wife's lullabies don't pay the mortgage." And that was the moment the crowd stopped guessing. The DA rolled Hector's recording. David called witnesses who'd seen what they'd seen, the neighbor who filmed the slap, the school counselor who tracked the bruises and the absences. And then David did the simplest thing. He asked Amy to read what she'd copied last night. At my kitchen table, her mom's words. Letters, slanted lines, wobbly. "Please don't make her carry what isn't hers." And maybe that's what justice sounds like. A child speaking the thing adults keep postponing. You know what I mean? The gavel didn't sing. It landed. "Custody is granted to Mr. Christopher Montgomery." Sarah hissed and fought and found out handcuffs have their own kind of punctuation. Hector went quiet under a different kind of microphone, and Billy collapsed into a chair and sobbed. I realized there was a father in him somewhere clawing at the surface, but I also realized redemption is a door you knock on for a long time before anyone answers. I picked up Amy. She looked at me like a question. "Is it real? Do we get to stay?" And I said no more. "Mister, from today I'm Dad." Don't cue the neat montage life after a verdict is sticky counters and car seats that feel like a prank. Mia snores like a kitten. Clara analyzes ceiling fans like they're art. Martha became a grandmother because love doesn't care about HR. Father Gabriel brings second-hand cribs and blessings that cost nothing. And I learned the choreography of 3 a.m., feedings and 7 a.m. drop-offs, and the fragile miracle of a child who finally exhales when you walk into a room. Yeah, that happened. Amy struggled at school. At first, kids can be cruel on cue, and one night the rumors plus the whispers pushed her to write a note and slip out with the twins toward the cemetery where her mother rests. I found her under an old tree moonlight, making everything feel like paper, she whispered. "I'm so tired." And I told her I already lost one child. I can't lose another. We drove home slow, 3 heartbeats and 1 promise in the car. Later, Billy came by under supervision. Face wrecked, hands. "Empty, I'm sorry," he said. And his voice broke on the second word. "Amy said I wanted to hear that for a long time. And I'm still scared you'll change your mind tomorrow." He nodded. Because there isn't an argument that beats that kind of truth. Forgiveness is a pencil, not a pen, and some days he shows up and tries, some days he texts that he can't handle it. And we keep the porch light on without pretending it erases the past. As for Gordon, fear lost its market when the tapes and the diary and the slap made the math simple. Investors called to say, "We know rumor from numbers, keep building." He didn't apologize. Men like him outsource shame. He just faded like a stain after the sixth wash. You can still see it if you go looking, but no one is looking anymore. Christmas found us anyway, lights on the eaves. Gingerbread burned and eaten with a grin. The twins learned to clap badly. Amy fell asleep on my arm and mumbled, "Daddy, don't leave us again." And I said I won't, not as a performance, just as a fact I intend to live into day after day, even when I'm tired, especially then. A year on the house is loud. The coffee's cold. The glass gets replaced by magnets and crayon drawings. I stand different, I work different, and if you want a bow on it, I can't give you one. We still have one more court date to finalize paperwork. There are still people online who think I scripted a family for clout. There are bills and tantrums and days I put the diaper on backward and get roasted for it by a 7-year-old with a sense of humor. And there's also a photo on the fridge of Amy at her choir concert, mouth open wide on a note she was scared of last year. And that's what winning looks like to me. Not applause, just a kid daring to sing. So here's where I hand it to you. If you were me that morning stepping over rain on your front steps and finding a little girl clutching 2 newborns, because the adults in her life talked about bad luck instead of responsibility, would you have opened the door? Do you believe redemption should be welcomed or watched? Is a father who fails in public someone we write off, or someone we hold to a higher promise? Tell me in the comments what you think is right. What you've seen in your own neighborhood, where the line sits between mercy and enabling. Like the video, if this story hit, where you didn't expect, subscribe if you want more messy wins and imperfect heroes. And if you'd chosen a different ending, say it out loud. Let's argue it here where maybe a kid who needs a door opened will overhear.